I'm Olivia Harlan Dekker. I am joined by Hall of Famer, Detroit Lion great Barry Sanders with BetMGM. We are so excited to talk. Barry, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here.
Okay, Barry Sanders, I'm going to read off your list of accolades, and I couldn't memorize it if I wanted to. Heisman, All-American, Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Pro Bowler, All-Pro, MVP, Hall of Fame. I'm curious which title meant the most at the time when you were awarded it.
Oh, man. Which title meant the most at the time? I would probably have to say Heisman.
Yeah.
Just because so much changed for me after I won the Heisman.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say no one knew about me, right? But you know, it's been said that I sort of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Not to you.
What's that?
Not to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was probably almost as surprised as a lot of people when I won. You know, just because it's my first year starting.
Yeah.
You know, and I just played special teams and done really well before that. You know, and I remember the big Heisman campaigns of Troy Aikman and Rodney Peete before that season. You know, I just never thought in a million years that it would be me.
Wow.
You know, so it just kind of happened. But yeah, but to answer your question, yeah, I would probably have to say Heisman, just because it was such a big change in my life. Sure. when that happened.
That junior season of yours is regarded as one of the best individual performances in college football history. Now, in retrospect, does that give you chills? What do you think when you hear that?
It's really amazing. Man, it's phenomenal when I hear it, just because, you know, I grew up watching so many great players play the game. I remember all those great USC running backs that I watched as a kid. You know, Anthony Davis and Charles White, and of course Marcus Allen, and you know, guys like Billy Sims or Tony Dorsett, you know, and even just other Heisman Trophy winners. But yeah, and I watched so much college football as a kid, and just the fact that my numbers stack up against all those great players that I watched. A part of it doesn't seem very real, honestly. It seems like it's some other guy, but no. And you know, I think back, it was such a phenomenal year, and it was such a phenomenal situation I was in. You know, because I had, you know, I was fortunate enough to have 5 fifth-year senior offensive linemen. I had a 5th-year senior fullback. You know, Coach Gundy. You know, he was a quarterback. You know, and so. There was another first-round wide receiver, Hartley Dykes. And so it was such a great situation for me. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have done well anywhere, but it just seemed like the perfect situation. And those guys love blocking and you know, and they love seeing me be successful. So I'm fortunate in that sense.
Perfect situation, but like you said, I have a feeling you would have found your gaps anywhere you played. When you look back at that season, you mentioned Coach Gundy. Is that group still tight? Do you still have like a Cowboy text thread or something?
We do still talk every now and then. You know, we had a reunion, 30-year reunion, just in the last year or so. Wow. So it was great seeing all those guys and coming back to Stillwater and having a chance to really highlight that season.
Heisman, that's a pretty unique fraternity as well. What's it like having that name attached to yours?
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing because it's such an iconic name, and there's so many great players that played the college game, and only just a select few win the Heisman. And I remember being a kid watching NFL. The first guy I remember as a really good Heisman player, Heisman Trophy winner in the pros was Roger Staubach. And I just remember his Heisman Trophy picture, you know, and seeing how dominant he was with the Cowboys. And the fact that I'm in a group with guys like him, you know, in some ways had an impact on the game the way he did. I mean, it's just, you know, it's really remarkable to think about it for me.
Any early Heisman favorites this season? Are you
I don't know if I can say favorites.
Okay.
Right? I don't know if I can say favorites.
Well, and I know you're not going to say someone who played at Oklahoma.
But I know there's a kid. Obviously, there's a kid, another quarterback at the University of Oklahoma who was a favorite. And obviously, I mean, but hey, look, I wouldn't want to lean one direction or another. And hey, may the best man win.
Every position has its presence in the locker room, team meetings, on the bus, and you think of quarterback being the face of the team, the leader. And then when you come in as running back, you're the face of the team, that season especially. What type of presence does a star running back need to have among his teammates?
Well, I think whenever you're talking about attached star, I think people are watching what you do, watching what you say. But I think mostly they're watching, how you carry yourself and the things that you do. I wasn't a very vocal leader. If you're talking about my Heisman Trophy year, and I think people were wanting, were curious to see, okay, what kind of player is he going to be as a full-time starter? But I think, you have to be consistent. I know in my case, I believe you have to be a hard worker.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to do anything else that anyone else is doing. And realize that you're invested as much in that group as anyone else. And be a great team player. And so things like that. Because it is a great team game, and like I mentioned before, all the guys that I felt like we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting up front, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean it's you lead by example, and they want someone who's consistent, and who is going to show up on Saturday, and make plays.
It's funny, I could interview a current college star and ask them, how they're having a great season. They would still tell me the guys up front, the guys blocking. Here we are all these years later, and you're still pointing out your O-line. That's pretty incredible.
No, absolutely. If you met these guys, you would understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
But again, if you think back to my Heisman Trophy year, because in today's football, really, this couldn't really happen.
Sure.
To have 5 fifth-year senior offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Most of you guys now are gone. If they're really, really good, they're gone by their junior year or whatever. So to have those guys that had played that much college football together, right?
They're grown men.
Benefited me. Absolutely, definitely benefited me. And the thing about it too was I was a true junior.
Yeah.
Right. So they were a couple years older than me. Right. And so it's funny because they kind of knew or felt like we had a chance to win the Heisman earlier than I did.
Wow.
When they would say stuff like that, I was like, these guys got to be crazy, man. And then it sort of caught on.
Sure.
After we played, I forgot which. I think it was maybe like the 4th game of the season. We go to Colorado because we hadn't played any really top teams until then, and then we go to Colorado, and we knew that was going to be a tough game for us.
Yeah.
And then after the game, I remember people started saying, fans and things like that started sort of a Heisman Trophy chant, which I just thought, okay, these are like, they're really going overboard with this win against Colorado. But it sort of caught on after that. After we played, some tougher teams, got more into the schedule. And then once we played Nebraska and then OU, and I had a good game, then I thought, okay, maybe it's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe it's possible.
That season, you had 2,850 rushing yards, 42 touchdowns in 12 games. That's incredible. And you said you were a guy who came out of nowhere, special teams, backup running back. Did your mental change much after that as then you go to the draft?
I mean, it changed gradually, It changed gradually. I think, the same way I approached everything in college. I got there and we had a ton of running backs.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I was on a depth chart going in, but I was, people say I backed up Thurman Thomas, and I always think, well, yeah, I backed up Thurman and about 5 other guys. It wasn't just Thurman Thomas. And then I just kind of gradually worked my way up. I was very hungry, and so my freshman year, I ended up playing a lot more than I thought I would because some of the older guys were injured. There was a few guys that had gotten caught up in the Prop 48 thing, and so I played. I don't know how many carries I had. I don't know, for the season, 300 yards or something like that, and so. They weren't expecting me to come in and play running back as a freshman back then. And then my sophomore year, pretty much took over the kick return duties. And was All-American kick returner.
Incredible.
And I love, and at that point, I was pretty much firmly set as Thurman's backup as a sophomore, which I loved. Right, my second year, and I'm backing up this guy who I know is going to the league.
Yeah.
You
can shine returning kicks. It can be the Barry show.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think that is accurate.
But I just knew that this is I'm living a dream, man.
Yeah.
I'm playing college football. In a great conference. I'd grown up watching the Big 8 conference. And so I couldn't ask for much more. But it was gradual, and so when you talk about Heisman, the draft, I had to sort of be brought along, I think. And I was fortunate that my dad, just kind of pulled me aside and was like, son, you gotta go.
Wow.
You gotta go.
You were going to come back for your senior year?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. I was going to come back for my senior year.
Really?
And my dad said in so many words, and they weren't the nicest of words, but he was like, no, son, you got to go. You're crazy if you stay in school, is what he said. And so it took me a while to come around to I guess this is sort of a new thing, because no one really had, there have been players back then, juniors, that had gone to the USFL.
Okay.
Right. So I remember Herschel went to the USFL. Yeah. I remember Mike Rozier had gone to the USFL. I don't know. I think Doug Flutie may have gone to Canada or something like that. Right. But as juniors, I was expecting to go back to school. Even when we played our bowl game, I was still expecting that. I remember getting questions from the media about what I was going to do, and at that point, I was still thinking coming back to school. And so. But like I said, Dad pulled me aside. We had a few heart-to-hearts.
I'm sure.
And he said, no, son, you got to be crazy. You got to be out of your mind if you go back to school. And so eventually that spring, I guess warmed up to the idea of going to the NFL. I remember Coach Fonts. I don't know all the other coaches that came to Stillwater, but did like a pro day.
Sure.
Where we did the vertical and the 40 and whatever else they had us do. And then after that, Coach Fonts, who was obviously the Lions coach at the time, he just pulled me aside. He was like, son, if you're coming out, then we're going to draft you.
Wow.
We're going to draft you. They had the number 3 spot. But even then, I knew that, okay, well, anything could happen. They could promise you anything. You know?
Happens all the time.
Absolutely. And it had happened the year before with Thurman. We thought Thurman was going to be a first rounder. He ended up slipping to the second round. And so anyway, but Coach Fonts, he told me that. And so that was another thing I think that sort of warmed me up to the idea of leaving school. So that's kind of how that part happened.
So they held their end of the bargain. You're selected 3rd overall. You're Rookie of the Year. I mean, talk about highest of highs, 2 years in a row. How did your confidence, because you seem to operate with like a quiet confidence, which I really like about you. You have this energy. Did that change as you got up to this big stage?
I would say no, it didn't, because I think there's always been a part of me that was that high school kid that didn't get heavily recruited.
Yeah. Chip on your shoulder.
It didn't get heavily recruited. And so I was still really trying to convince myself. And I knew I had to, but the thing I understood is that I knew I had to just go to work every day, do, just continue to lift and run and try to physically improve, be ready for the NFL. For me, just coming here, I wouldn't say I had great confidence, but I was excited to see what kind of player I would be.
Now, why didn't you have great confidence?
Because anything could happen in the NFL. Okay. Anything could happen, and a lot of great players come and play in NFL, and they were great college players, and it just doesn't translate, to the NFL. And so I had no idea, but I was excited to get here to see what I would be able to do.
Yeah.
And so I knew that the team hadn't won much. One of the things that I loved about the team was that one of my childhood idols, Billy Sims, had played here. And Coach Font said, well, we know you were 21 in college, but I want to put you in Billy's number 20. You know, so I was like, hey, whatever you say, coach. You know, but I was excited for the opportunity. You know, and that's really all I could say. I didn't know what kind of NFL player I would make. You know, I knew that I loved being a running back. I tried to do everything I could to be ready. I held out. And another thing, I guess that kind of threw a wrench in things was that I didn't sign until the week of the first game. I missed all the training camp.
Right.
I mean, every bit of training camp. You know, so I didn't know any plays. You know, I was coming into a new system. You know, I had grown up playing basically I-back, tailback with a fullback in front of you and a tight end, right? And so we get here, and now there's this sort of new fangled offense, the run and shoot.
Yeah.
You know, and so just things like that. You know, again, it was just different. You know, but and so having signed the week of the first game, right, and not having gone through training camp, then that's just another thing. You know, where I just wasn't sure, okay, you know, what's going to happen, you know, when I get out there. And
you didn't really know your teammates.
Absolutely. No, I did not. I did not. I come to one preseason game. I may have met a couple of the guys, whatever, in passing, but that was about it, you know. So you know, just so happened I suited up for the first game.
Yeah. And
toward the end of the game, the coach asked me, did I want to go in? You know, and they showed me a few plays on the sideline.
Oh my God! What?
And the rest is history.
That's wild. Did they keep it pretty simple, just so everyone could?
They did. No, yeah,
page?
For sure. Yeah,
okay.
They did. They kept it pretty simple. They showed me a few steps.
Yep.
Like I said.
Said I got it, coach.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Give me the ball.
Obviously, you know, it couldn't be too complicated. And you know, I mean, the first time I touched the ball, you know, it's well documented.
Yep.
I ran for, 17 yards or something like that. And it was such a thrill, you know, to be in the NFL, playing against these guys in the Silverdome back then.
Yeah.
It was, for me, it was the thrill of a lifetime.
I think it was on your 10th carry or something, you scored your first touchdown. Does that sound right?
I should know that. I'm not sure. It was pretty soon after.
Later.
It was pretty soon after. It was pretty soon after in that game.
Wow.
I scored a pretty short touchdown run, and no, hey, look, man, I was no pun intended. I was off and running.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, that is a part of your playing style too, which we don't see a lot these days, but you were known to just not be flashy. You know, you hand the ball to the ref, you're not really celebrating you. You see that now every once in a while, but it's almost refreshing now when you see it. Why was that a part of your game? Was that maybe something from your dad or a coach?
I think it came from my dad.
Okay.
I think it came from my dad and just my personality.
Yeah. Respectful.
I think also, you know, it's sort of the era that I grew up in as well.
Sure.
I think, you know, there were some guys that celebrated, you know. I guess my formative years watching the NFL, there were some guys that celebrated, but not everyone. And I enjoyed, you know, the Billy White shoes, Johnson dance as much as anyone, you know. but you know, when I was playing, when I was on the field playing the game, I just didn't think about it in that way. Mm-hmm. I think I was more business minded and kind of, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Sure.
And also, I think, you know, like I said, my dad, you know, he was a part of that as well. You know, just telling me to you know, make sure I play the game the right way. And I don't have to do anything crazy, you know, when I celebrate. But I think a lot of it was just, you know, my approach and personality and the way that I just, you know, process the game.
Absolutely. It's funny now, 2021, if you were a rookie this year, what would be different about life off the field with all the hoopla and spotlight that was on you, amplified to 2021 standards?
Oh man, I don't know that I could take it, man.
Yeah.
Instagram and Twitter, I don't know that I could take it.
Don't forget TikTok.
You know, right? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of distractions out there. But I think, you know, the main ingredient or the most important thing is, you know, obviously what you do on the field.
Yeah.
And it accentuates everything else. You know, and so I'm sure, you know, most of the good players understand that, you know, but certainly the world is much different now than back then, you know, and just sports media, you know, and so, but the thing about it is, I think these kids kind of grew up with it, you know, so I'm not even sure, I'm not sure how I would react, honestly. You know, I'm sure it would be much the same way as all the kids who kind of have learned how to balance it, you know, balance it effectively, to be able to do all those things, but also understand that, you know, it's also important to have, you know, maybe a trainer and a chef, you know, watching what you eat. I think they're much more savvy about and aware of things like that, you know. So I certainly think there are some very good things that benefit the modern athlete.
When you look at what these college facilities have now, and even NFL facilities, what they have in terms of nutrition and health, what seems the most archaic thing when you look back at your experience that you all dealt with, probably at the college level more than here in Detroit?
Well, the most archaic thing is, you know, probably pregame meal, of just, you know, any kind of meat you want, which I love meat, but that's probably not the you know, just loading up on a bunch of steaks before a game is probably not a great idea.
No, that doesn't sound smart.
You know, or pancakes or whatever, you know, so yeah, and no one had like a personal chef or something like that. And, you know, the stuff we used to cater for lunch, you know, from whatever fast food joint, or donuts or whatever else. I mean,
that never happened now.
Yeah, I don't think so. Especially
you didn't have the hyperbaric chamber and the thermoguns. You didn't have all that?
I don't know if that had been invented at that point. I don't
Definitely
think so.
not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Well, you were recently playing in a golf tournament and you were speaking to the press about the Lions season coming up and how, you know, this city can have championships in other sports, but it's a football town. Why do you feel like this city rallies so much around the Lions year after year after year? How do you see that in the community?
I don't know if it's because of the great championships from the 50s and just that kind of football tradition. Maybe it's because of the Thanksgiving tradition, you know, and I just know that one of the things that I did learn when I got here is that's certainly the case. And maybe it's even because of the great college teams that have played, Michigan State and Michigan, you know, won championships, or just because of they won championships in other sports. You know, and they're eager to have one in the NFL, you know, but certainly, but this is certainly a football centered town. You know, they love their Lions. They've been very loyal for forever. And you know, and that's the way it is, you know, and so they certainly are deserving of a winner. There's still a few people around from, you know, fans from the early days, you know, that remember the early championships, you know, and some of them even joke that, no, I'm not leaving this earth until I see, you know, another Lions championship.
Right.
You
How
know,
long will they be waiting?
Well, hopefully not long. Hopefully not very long. Absolutely. You know, that is the hope anyways.
You were very active with this recent coaching hire. What were you searching for? What did you think you needed in this building?
Well, I think just someone who people can follow, who these young men can follow and who they respect. You know, I'm not going to say I was, you know, I don't know how much input I had. You know, I did a lot of listening, you know, but was certainly more involved than any other time. And obviously the one who was really leading the search, Chris Billman, and I played together for many years. And I know what kind of player he was. I know how passionate he was about the team. And I think that's one of the things he was looking forward. Not just, you know, someone leader who can be followed, but someone who was really passionate about football. And that he understood and knew that they were fanatical about trying to come in and make a difference. And so and obviously, you want X's and O's and things like that. And someone who's been around a champion, which Coach Campbell had. So to answer your question, I guess those would be some of the top priorities.
So you hired Dan Campbell, new GM Brad Holmes. Fresh blood can do a lot for a company, for a business, for a university, certainly for a sports team. What are you most excited about in this new regime?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of new faces, and even going to the quarterback.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
But I know that, Jared has played a lot of big time football.
Yes.
You look at some of the teams that he's played with, and just a few years removed from the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And yes, we're excited about that. And the GM, as you stated, been around once again, a lot of fantastic, successful football. And so, yes, we're hoping that, the new vision, excitement, whatever it is that they do, that, and it's almost like a team. You want that chemistry to come together.
Yes.
And so we know that same thing has to happen at the top. And so, we're something, where you can really breathe new life into a situation. And that's what we're all hoping for. I mean, as fans, we're gonna do our part. We've been here, and so we're just hoping that it carries over onto the field.
I think you're a little more than a fan. I think you're a little bit at a higher echelon than fandom.
But at my core, though, that's what I am.
Awesome.
A fan.
Yeah.
I'm like, and so along with all the other fans, I mean, we this town is hoping and praying, and really expecting, right, championship football. So that's why I say that, because at the end of the day, yeah, we're investing everything we can into turning this team around, and it comes from just that place of, okay, look, I'm a fan and I'm a member of the family, and let's get this done.
We look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers championship run, and it's very much plug pieces in the right place and go. It seems like that's the outlier. Like, you really have to set up culture before that. It takes years to build. Do you feel like that's where the Lions are right now?
Well, I think we're going to see. I think it can be done several ways.
Yeah.
I mean, generally speaking, yes, you do build it over time.
Sure.
But I think in today's NFL, if you already have the right ingredient, then I don't think it's something that takes as long. Mm-hmm. There isn't much. There doesn't have to be as much of a build up, to whatever that is. Mm-hmm.
Lions fans are going to be happy to hear you say that.
Absolutely. No, I didn't.
Yep.
I think in today's NFL, absolutely, it shouldn't take. And plus, you don't necessarily have 5 years.
Sure.
You don't necessarily have a 5-year plan. You have more 2 or 3 years to get it done. So yeah. I mean, and that's encouraging to see what Tampa did last year.
Yeah.
I don't know that we necessarily have the weapons in every position that they have, but that's what your draft is for, and your offseason is for bringing in guys who you think can help you. And I don't just look at. I mean, the team that I look at, obviously, I mean, Tampa's a great example, but obviously Green Bay is a team that you think about. Okay, well, that's a team you really have to beat in this division for the most part.
And then you look Thanksgiving.
What's that? What's that?
On Thanksgiving.
Well, and then you have to look at all the great football that's been played by Minnesota, right? Look at the big games that they played. Look at Chicago, been in play. I mean, so this is a tough division.
Yep.
You got your work cut out for you every week, and so when you're drafting and when you're bringing in free agents and things like that, I mean, those are really the teams you're thinking about that you have to see week in and week out.
A guy you drafted a couple years ago, running back DeAndre Swift. I told you I went to Georgia, so I follow him kind of closely. I love his game. What's your involvement like with some of your star running backs here? Do you talk much with them?
I'm not around them much, honestly, but I like what I saw in DeAndre last year.
Yeah.
I thought he adopted and transitioned well to the pro game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought he broke tackles well. I thought he still showed that separation and speed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which you got to get to this level to really see how your game, like I said before,
Mm-hmm.
is really going to translate. I don't know how many yards he ended up with last year, but for a rookie, I thought he really earned his keep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for even bigger things this year.
Yeah.
And he looks like he could be a really solid running back.
What's life like for you these days? Like, update people on your involvement here with the team, on what you do. You have so many business ventures you're involved in, but we love watching all your highlights, but you're a living legend. So what are you doing these days?
Oh, well, I feel like I'm pretty fortunate and lucky to be in the position I'm in. I'm sort of an ambassador for the team, for the Lions. So I come to a couple games and I'll say hi to some fans or say hi to suite holders or maybe doing some things in the community on behalf of the team. I have my own businesses that I'm involved in. I'm fortunate enough to own a couple of car dealerships in Oklahoma. Also, my agent keeps me pretty busy doing different things. I just
Those darn agents. Don't they know you just want to relax?
Well, you can't relax all the time.
No.
You got to get out there and make some things happen. And so just coming from shooting Heisman House commercial out in LA.
Those are so great. Those commercials,
they
do a great job with those.
It's a blast, man. It's
Funny.
a blast just being a part of it. So I have 4 sons, one in college. So I feel like I have the best of both worlds. Just being able to spend time with my sons and do a lot of really cool things like this. I mentioned my car dealerships, and obviously today we're shooting some stuff for MGM, BetMGM, it's really a good mix of just business things and personal things and playing a little golf every now and then.
There you go. I'm glad you can enjoy yourself a bit. Thank you so much for your time with us. It's an honor to get to talk to you. You truly are a legend, a name that I'll be telling my grandkids about that I sat down with you, so I appreciate that.
It's been fun.
They'll have to look up your videos, but it'll be a hologram.
YouTube will still be around. Yeah, they'll still have YouTube videos, I think.
Well, thanks again for your time.